Hey everybody, welcome back to the Casa. So as you can tell by the title of this video, it's kind of late, about 2-3 weeks late at this point, I guess. Wanted to get it done a little sooner. We're about a week away from Turkey Day here in the U.S. right now. So like I say, I'm a couple of weeks late on this, but I wanted to get this out there and what have you. Like I told you guys, my daughter was in the process of looking to move up here and what have you, and that has finally happened. So she's here. Her and Dakota the Wonder Dog are up here, and that's why this is late. I've been real busy getting her settled in. It is winter time. It's it doesn't feel like it right now. I mean, I got 2 coats on, but that's just because I'm outside wandering around and doing some work outside. But it's I guess about 50-55 here right now, so it's not really too bad. But we are getting into the winter months, so as you can see behind me, I've been kind of busy. I got all my firewood in, for the most part. Got some over at the house, got some here, what have you. And then getting her settled, getting her room set up. It still needed some painting, some work on the windows and that sort of thing. So, it took a little while. Got her settled. She's all settled in now. The Wonder Dog is getting used to Team Rocket, and they're getting used to him. That was interesting for the first few days. They a little standoffish from one another, no fighting or anything. They just didn't know what to make of one another. But they're settled in now. They're getting along real well. He's a lot of energy. He's a younger dog. He's only a couple of years old. And they're in their mid-teens, so they lay around a lot and sleep a lot, and they don't want to play. And he wants to play, and he's got nobody else to play with, and he sees other dogs, and he bugs the crap out of them. But they're getting used to it. He's getting used to it, what have you. So that's what's going on here. Like I say, the girl child's up here. She's settled in now, and we started working on going through stuff and what have you, which was the plan. We got a bunch of books that we sorted out and that sort of thing. And I took her on the rounds yesterday and dropped her right into the fire. We went to the dump and made a dump run, and then we went up to the store and we made a propane run. And then we got back here and we did firewood for the rest of the afternoon. So she's a hurting puppy today. She's a little sore, a little stiff. So there's that. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to those people who are following me so far. I've got a whole whopping 6 subscribers so far. My kids are on there. A couple of friends of theirs. Apparently my ex-wife is following. So shout out to you as well, Diane. Welcome to the channel. For those of you that are here, there's a couple other people. I'm not sure who it is. But because it's not shown. But yeah, man. If you guys like this, pass it on to people, what have you. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about is it is just past Samhain. The beginning of the month was the New Year and stuff. End of the harvest season. Hopefully everybody did all right with all of that and what have you. And start of a new year, start of trying to do more things, right? But another thing that goes on this time of year is it's a time for looking back at the people that were in your life that are no longer there. Your ancestors, your relatives, your friends, all those folks that are gone and not here anymore. And that's what this video is kind of about. Is I wanted to do something that's both helpful and kind of celebrates that a little bit. We don't talk with our kids too much about what we want to do afterwards, after we pass away and things like that. It's kind of a taboo subject in this country. We don't talk about it much, and it's hard to talk about it with your kids and stuff. I've had the discussion with my kids. My kids both know my wishes, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that I've had to deal with a lot of different people's estates. Like I was telling you guys before, I've dealt with my grandmother's estate, my grandfather's estate, my mom's estate, and most recently my dad's estate from about, I guess, 2-3 years ago, whatever it was. At this point, it's been a little while, but I wanted to talk about that because a lot of people don't tell their kids what they want, and it kind of gets dropped on them at the end of life. They're dealing with so many other things, all the paperwork and the government stuff and the wills and all that crap. And what do you do? You know, so I've experienced two different ways of dealing with, how do you honor your parents? What do you do? Do you put them in the ground? Do you cremate them? Do you this? Do you that? And the one thing that I have seen in all of that, especially with my dad's estate, is it is ridiculously expensive in this country. The way we take care of our elders is, I won't even go into that, and expense and the way we warehouse, our parents and things like that in nursing homes and that sort of thing. I chose to have both my grandfather and my mom here, and I was their hospice caregiver. For my mom it was almost a year, for my grandfather it was several months. But that's not a choice everybody can make. So that's something to think about, and it does get expensive, and the state taps into their inheritance and stuff like that, as far as if you put somebody in a nursing home. So that's something to think about. But that's not what I wanted to touch on. What I wanted to touch on is funeral expenses. Now, I've done two different things, and I've got more experience with one than the other. The normal funeral, when my dad passed away, it was in my dad's will. He did not want to be cremated. He wanted to be interred next to his wife, with their dogs, etc. Luckily, he had already purchased a plot. They had adjoining plots at a cemetery, so that expense wasn't there at the time. But I can tell you, that's several thousands of dollars, and they try to, it's crazy. The worst time of your life, they're trying to upsell you. Oh, you need this, you want this waterproof this, and you want that, and you want the, don't you want your best for your relatives? And you're in the middle of dealing with all of the grief and all of the nightmare and everything else, and here these people are upselling you at the worst time of your life. So you want to talk about that to your kids. You want to tell them what you want to do. Now, with my dad, because he wanted to be buried, even just a basic funeral, a fairly basic, simple casket, etc. I think when it was all said and done, ran somewhere in the neighborhood of about $7,000, and that was bare minimum. That was we didn't do anything super fancy. He didn't want anything super fancy, but at the same time, he wanted to be interred, and that's just insane to me, the cost that's involved. I'm all about honoring someone's life and this and that and the other, but those kinds of costs are they're obscene. And then you put somebody in a metal box in the ground, in a concrete box, and that's it. You're taking up all that land. You're taking it's a toxic waste dump basically, for human bodies. Let's be honest about it. That land gets used for nothing else. It's you're done. And it's a lot of space, and as my daughter pointed out on her Instagram and what have you yesterday, when we went up to the dump, we were up there and somebody was throwing away furniture. The space that we devote in this country to those sorts of things is finite. It's running out, So I wanted to talk about an alternative. And like I say, with my dad, he insisted that he be buried up in the cemetery and be buried with his wife, and I respect that. But for both my grandparents and my mom, we went a different route. And I went with cremation, but I did it a little different, because even cremation can cost you huge sums of money. And if you're not prepared for it, if the person's got a lot of debt in their estate, if their estate's not got much, that's expenses on you. and you don't want that for your kids. So when my mom passed away, I did it for her, and I did it for my grandfather, and she did it for my grandmother. Is there's this isn't the only organization, but there's an organization out there called Anatomy Gifts Registry. And what it is it's an organization that does tissue donation for research. A lot of people, are signed up to be organ donors and this and that and the other, and that's great, man. If you do that, God bless you. We need that. I have a friend who had kidney disease and was on dialysis for several years, who was able to get a donated kidney. And the change in his life from being on dialysis to having a donated kidney and stuff, it made a world of difference in his life. So I encourage everybody, be an organ donor. But not everybody can be. My mom had cancer, and that precludes her from being an organ donor. She couldn't be one because there's the risk of passing on cancer. So what do you do? How do you still help? And what Anatomy Gifts Registry does is they will take anyone who does not have a bloodborne illness, HIV, hepatitis, those sorts of things they can't take because there's too much of a risk. But cancer, not a problem. My grandfather passed away from complications from C. diff and congestive heart failure. Not a problem. Those are kinds of things that they will take a person's remains. And what they do is they will harvest tissue, they will harvest organs, and then they in turn pass those on to other organizations that do research, whether it's surgery or it's research on better drugs or better techniques or whatever the case may be. It's a way for you to be able to help out people in the future. But on your end, it does a couple of things. It's free. There's no expense to it. So that is a huge burden lifted off of the person that's dealing with this. If you haven't made insurance arrangements, if you haven't state arrangements, basically what happens is you as an individual can sign up early. You can register with them, and I'll leave a link down in the doobly-doo for this that you guys can go and check on it. You sign up, they give you a registration number, they give you paperwork. You discuss that with your family. You tell them what your wishes are so that they know. And when the time comes, they can call up and say, hey, this person, this is their registration number, what have you. They've made arrangements with you, and they take care of everything. They will contact the funeral home. The funeral home will come in and collect the remains. They will ship to their facility. They'll do what they have to do, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing on you. On the flip side, if they haven't made arrangements and this is something you decide to do for your loved one, which my mom knew what she wanted, my grandmother didn't, my grandfather, he wasn't too worried about as far as he was concerned, and he was very much a realist. You're dead, and whatever, I don't care. So for him, it was on me to make the decision. So you call them up, you tell them, what happened. They ask you some medical questions, so that they can know whether they can take the body or not. You have to do a release paperwork for their medical records, because they want that along with tissue donation, so they can kind of compare what's going on and stuff. So you do have some paperwork you have to do, but they will come up. They will make the arrangements. Someone will come up and get the remains, and they take them away. And then once they've done their tissue harvesting and what have you, then they do a cremation. Now you have a couple of options, and this is where it's not really part of the expense of them. It's simply a matter of the expense of doing business. If you want that person's remains back, they will mail them to you. But you have to pay for the registered mail. And registered mail is what, about $15, I think, is what I paid for all of mine. I got kind of a running joke at my house. We have a really dark sense of humor. I actually have the collector set up on top of my television. My grandmother's there, my grandfather's there, my mom's there. I'm sure eventually I will be there. because I made the arrangements. I said, you know, I want the remains back. We'll do, you know, we'll have a service, what have you, with that. And it was $15. Boom. That was it. They took care of everything. They come, they get the body, they do what they're going to do, they take care of, you know, all the cremation, they get your mailing information, they send the remains back to you. All of that's taken care of. The other thing that they will take care of for you is they will take care of certificates of death, because you have to apply for those. You have to go online and order them, and anybody that's dealt with the government in any way, shape, or form knows it's a pain in the ass. They'll do it for you. Now, you have to pay the fee for the death certificates, and they're not cheap. You know, I needed about 5 of them for my mom's estate, because everybody wants an original. So I needed about 5 or 6 of them, you know, so I did have to pay for those. I gave them the money, but they took care of it. Again, they mailed it all to me. Done. I didn't have to deal with any of it. You know, it's a way to help people out. It's a way to, you know, have your loved ones do something good for the world, you know. It's a way of not wasting land in this country that you know, we set aside and never use again, and all the stuff that goes into that, and it's a way of not buying into this $10,000-$20,000 death system that we have in this country. You know, this consumerized death. It's gonna say, you know, so that's money that look, we could all use it. You know, I'm not trying to be callous, but we could all use the money, you know, for other things. And $10,000 for a hole in the ground, really? So I just wanted to mention that to you guys. It's something to think about. Like I say, I have done it. I'm registered. My kids know that, and you know, when the time comes, that's what I want to do. I'm also a tissue donor, and that's the other thing. With this process, you can still be an organ donor. You can be perfectly healthy and do this option. Like I say, it's for people who don't have the other option, can take advantage of it, but it's not just for them. I'm a tissue donor, or an organ donor. So when I die, you know, if somebody can get some use out of my, you know, this old decrepit thing that you call a body, you know, help somebody out, you know. Like I say, I've got a friend that's still here because of someone's donation. So I'm a tissue donor, but I'm also, you know, an anatomy gifts registry donor, and I'm gonna, you know, have that taken care of and done. My kids won't have the expense. They won't have the nightmare. And again, it's a way to help people out. And the really cool thing is about a year after you've done this, they will contact you. They'll send you a letter, and they say, look, you know, thank you for your donation. You know, you did all this stuff. This is what your contribution or your loved one's contribution did. And they'll tell you where that person's tissue donations went. Not the specific company or anything like that, but they'll tell you the sorts of things that they went towards. My mom, when she was alive, was an auto worker. She worked on an assembly line and this and that and the other for part of the time, and so she had carpal tunnel. She went and got carpal tunnel surgery and what have you. So when she passed, one of the things that the tissue donation went towards was carpal tunnel research. They were able to go back and look and see, you know, did that surgery help? Did it, you know, degrade over time? All those things. The only way to know that is to look, you know, and this gives them the ability to do that. So, you know, it's kind of cool because now you get this thing back that, you know, hey, you know, my loved one helped me. Or help somebody or whatever. So it's you know, it's kind of cool. It makes you feel kind of good. So as I said, you know, it's Samhain, and you know, it's that time of the year when you think about those things and you honor your ancestors and the people that passed before you. So I wanted to throw this out there as a thought and an idea to you folks. As something to think about. I'm not saying do it. I'm not saying, you know, everybody should do this, and everybody's got their own beliefs. But if it's something that you feel strongly about, or you're on the fence about even, or something, look into it, because I think it's a hell of a thing, and I think they do great stuff. And you know, it's all about making things better and leaving things better than they were when you were here. You know, so that's just, you know, I wanted to say that and wish everybody well and things like that. And you know, now that the girl child's here and settled in, I'm trying to get caught up with stuff. And try to get some more of these online and what have you. So I wish everybody the best. You know, I wish everybody Happy New Year kind of thing. And, you know, stay loco, guys. All right, bye.